Hello children, let me welcome you to the virtual class of the Brihan Mumbai Mahanagar Palika. My name is Shraddha teacher. Children, we are in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic and because of that we are not able to go to school, but that doesn't mean we are going to stop learning. So we are going to do many lessons which are very interesting from your textbook through the virtual class here. So let us do a lesson in English today.
So come on children, let's start a lesson in standard 8th English today, and the lesson will be the last lesson in your English textbook. And what is the lesson? The name of the lesson is lesson number 4.5, A Battle to Baffle. Now if you look at the words here, you have two words starting with B and ending with an LE with just two letters which are different. That is, in one you have the letters double T and in the other one you have the letters double F. So here battle means a fight and baffle means what? That we will see now. Okay, so it is a story which is taken from a very, very old Indian tradition, you can say, or it is one of the oldest of Indian folklores. Alright, we have many stories that we have heard as we were growing up. Now let us take a look at some of the stories and then we will talk about which part of history does this particular story, A Battle to Baffle, come from. So first thing that we are going to do is we are going to look at something that we already know. So you have heard stories of Akbar and Birbal. We have heard stories of Tenali Raman. We have heard stories of Mullah Nasruddin. As you were growing up in the 4th standard, you have learnt some stories of Mullah Nasruddin. Okay, so they are asking us to recollect and write down the names of some of these stories. So let us see which are the stories of Akbar and Birbal first. Okay, so you've talked and heard about the story, The Crows in the Kingdom. Now, you know, Emperor Akbar, he had Navaratnas or 9 gems or jewels in his coat. And one of them was Birbal. Now, Birbal was an extremely witty, wise, intelligent person. So, whenever Akbar used to come up with some peculiar or typical problem, Birbal used to solve it in a very, very funny and very, very, you can say, way in which Akbar used to get amused. Alright. So there were many stories about, you can say, Akbar and Birbal. These are just some of them. So there is the story about crows in the kingdom. So one fine day, Akbar got up early in the morning, and remember, he was a king. And kings can be quite whimsical at times. Alright, that is, anything will come into their head one fine day and they want to get it fulfilled. So Akbar called Birbal and he asked him, Birbal, I want to know the exact number of crows in my kingdom. So now just think and imagine, is it possible for someone to count the number of birds in a particular kingdom? You could count the number of trees because the trees are going to be at a particular place only. They will not move. But birds can fly away. Alright. But Birbal could never say, no, I cannot tell you, Jahapana, I cannot tell you, king, that the number of crows, I don't know. He could never give such an answer because Akbar would get angry. So Birbal came up with a very, very big number. He said, there are, say, 1,24,361 crows in this kingdom. Now Akbar was very amused and he said, how could you arrive at the exact number? He said, see, if there are more, it means crows from the neighboring kingdom have come as visitors, and if there are less, it means crows from our kingdom, they have gone to visit the neighboring kingdom. So this is how Akbar used to get very witty replies from Birbal. And then of course we have heard the stories about Birbal's khichdi, about the foolish thief, about wise Birbal. Okay, so one of the stories, the outlines I told you, the other stories you can check. Okay, you can go to the internet, you can go to Google and you can try and find out what the other stories are about. So this was about Akbar and Birbal. Let us look at the next very interesting character, that is the character of Tenali Raman. His name was Tenali Ramakrishna. and we're going to look at one of his stories today. Okay, so there are many stories on the life of Tenali Rama and his king. Okay, one of the stories are the thieves and the well, the greedy Brahmins, Tenali Raman and the cursed man, a handful of grain, or 1,000 gold coins. So these are some stories about Tenali Rama. Now let me just, like in the previous case, let me give you an outline of the first story, the thieves and the well. So one day the king, he went on a round of the prisons in the kingdom. There he came across two thieves, and those two thieves said that, "King, you please release us from here. We will help you to find out the other thieves." Okay, so the king said okay, but the king placed a condition. The king said that you will have to fool, or you will have to steal something from Tenali Rama. Only then I will agree that you are real thieves. Now what these two did was, they went and hid near the bushes and in Tenali Rama's compound. Tenali Rama sensed that there's someone hiding in the bushes. So he called out very loudly to his wife, and he asked his wife to pack all the jewels, all the ornaments and all the expensive things in the house into a big trunk and throw that trunk into the well. They did that and they went to sleep peacefully. Now these two thieves, throughout the night, they started drawing water from the well, and they started emptying the water into the compound because they wanted to get the trunk which was there. Early hours of the morning, they were able to pull the trunk out, but unfortunately when they opened the trunk, what did they see? They saw big stones inside. And at the same time, Tenali Raman came and he thanked these two thieves for helping him to water the plants in his garden. So see how intelligent, how witty Tenali Rama was. So try and read the other stories also. And then of course we have heard tales of Mullah Nasruddin. There are many stories about Mullah Nasruddin: A Question of Time, Donkey of Hojja, Fired by Fear, Hojja Goes to the Tailor, etc. So these stories are also very interesting, and you will see that most of the stories here, they have some kind of moral also. Okay, so this was about some of the people they have asked us to read about. Now let us go to the next part of the exercise. So see, you have read stories of Akbar, Birbal, Tenali Rama, Mullah Nasruddin. Recollect and write down the names of those stories. Yes, we have written down the names of some stories already. Let's come to the next part of the exercise. So in the next part of the exercise, they're telling us, pick out those aspects of a story that you will find are common in all the three stories. So whether you see stories of Akbar and Birbal, whether you see stories of Tenali Rama or Mullah Nasruddin, what are the common things? So humor, supernatural events, wisdom, suspense, magic, beauty of nature, wit, play upon words, sad end, violence. So which of the things are common in all the stories? That is, whether you pick up a story of Akbar and Birbal, whether you pick up a story of Tenali Raman, or whether you pick up a story of Mullah Nasruddin, what will you find in all the stories? Yes, you will find humor. Humor means something which will make you laugh. Okay, fun you will find. You will find wisdom. Wisdom means we can take away something from each of these stories. So there is a moral to all of these stories. Then of course you will find suspense, because as you're listening to the story, you want to know what happened next. So you have suspense there. Sometimes you also have magical elements in a story. Then the beauty of nature is brought about in many stories. There is wit. Wit means what? Again, fun. Wit means intelligence. And there is play upon words also. That is, the words are used in such a twisted manner that people get fooled. Alright, so these are some common things that you will see in the stories of all these people. So come on, let's move on and let us talk about some more exercises which are there in our warming up part. So they've asked us to use a dictionary and find the differences in the following terms which are related to drama. So there are many different terms related to drama. So you have a play, then you have a one act play, then you have skit, you have mime, okay, you have farce, opera, tragedy, and comedy. So let's take a look at these terms and let us try and understand what these terms are. So I will give you one sentence. You can find out one idea of your own also. So what is a play, children? A play is a dramatic work staged in a theatre in front of an audience. Okay, so there is a theatre, there is a stage, and when a story is shown using various characters on that particular stage in front of an audience, then that is a play. What is a one act play? A one act play has got only one act. Okay, the play is not a very long one. It could be a long one, but there are no different scenes in it. There is just one act in the play. What about a skit? A skit is a short, funny play that makes a joke of something. And the lesson that we are going to talk about today, children, is a skit. What about a mime? Now, mime, in other words, we also call it as mimicry. It is a type of theatre using no words but only movements of the hands and body and facial expressions. So we use and we play the game dumb charades. You know, when we go for a picnic or when we are just having to spend time with our friends, we play a game called dumb charades, where we do not open our mouths, we do not produce any kind of sound, but we use the movements of our hands and our body and our facial expressions in order to guess the name of movies. So that is called as mime. Alright, then you have a farce. Now what is a farce? A farce is a humorous play in which the characters become involved in unlikely and complicated situations. They use physical humor and silliness. So when a character, he gets caught in some kind of difficult situation, but then you feel like laughing also looking at the condition of the character, then that is called as a farce. Now what is an opera? A dramatic work in one or more acts in which all the characters communicate through song, and the story is told through song put to music. So opera basically means songs and music. Now the last two are opposite ideas. So tragedy means a play dealing with a tragic events and it has got an unhappy ending. So sometimes you watch a movie where towards the end of the movie the hero and the heroine, both of them die. So that is a tragedy. What about a comedy? A comedy has got humor and it has got a happy and cheerful ending. Alright, so these are the different kind of terms which are related to drama. Now children, if you look at your warming up exercise part, there is an exercise based on direct and indirect forms or reported speech. Now that will take a lot of time, so what we will do is we will complete understanding this lesson and the other exercises in this lesson, then I will come back with a video only based on direct and indirect speech. Alright, so now let's move on and let us look at the lesson and let us try and enjoy the story of the lesson. So what is the name of the lesson? It is a battle to baffle. Now I told you we will look at what the meaning of baffle is later, but we all know the meaning of battle. So what is battle? Battle means it's a kind of fight, you can say. Not necessarily a physical fight, but it is a kind of a fight. Okay, a confrontation. And a battle to baffle is a skit. So we just saw what a skit is. A skit is a very short story with some humor in it. And then what is the meaning of baffle? To baffle means to confuse someone. So baffle doesn't exactly mean to tell lies, but it means when you want to confuse someone, then you're trying to baffle that person. Okay, so in this story of the battle to baffle, there are certain characters, but when you look at the stories of Tenali Raman, you will see that the two main characters are one Tenali Raman himself and the other one is Krishna Deva Raya, who was the emperor of the Vijayanagar Empire. Okay, so now since this is a skit, it is a play. Before we try to see the story, let us see who the characters in the play are. So you have Tenali Raman, who is a witty poet and jester in the court of Emperor Krishna Devaraya. Who's a jester now? A jester is a kind of, you can say, person who makes people laugh. Okay, so a jester could be called as a clown, you can call him as a joker. But here Krishna Devaraya was not, Tenali Raman was not a clown or a joker, okay? He was a very, very intelligent, learned man. But he was the person who used to bring fun, who used to bring laughter into the court of Emperor Krishna Devaraya. The other character in this skit is Krishna Devaraya himself. So he was the emperor of the Vijayanagar Empire from 1509 to 1529. And then you have Pundit Shahane. Now this Pundit Shahane was a highly learned visiting scholar. That is, he was not from the court of Krishna Devaraya, but he was coming from some other kingdom and he had come to visit the empire or the kingdom of Krishna Devaraya. And finally, you have Mantriji, who is the chief minister. Okay, so these are the characters in the skit. But we are not going to look at the skit in the form of a drama, children, because we are in a format where I have recording a video and I will show the video to you. So we are going to look at the skit in the form of a story. Now I would want you to open your English textbooks and come to page number 99. So you and me can be on the same page, and when I am telling you the story of the battle to Baffle, you can at the same time read the drama or read the skit from the textbook, so you can associate the ideas which I am telling you with the ideas in the textbook. Now in the first scene or in the opening scene of the skit, you see that Pundit Shahane has arrived in the kingdom of King Krishna Devaraya. He has mastered all the scriptures and has won great renown all over India. Now who is the person who is coming and informing the king about the arrival of Pundit Shahane? It is Mantriji. So Mantriji says, "Your Royal Highness, I have some urgent news to convey. May I have your kind permission to announce it?" The emperor says, "Yes, Mantriji." So Mantriji says, "Maharaj, a very great scholarly Pandit, Pundit Shahane, has arrived. He has mastered all our scriptures and has won great renown all over India." So the emperor is very happy. He says he must be a truly brilliant Pandit. Mantriji says, "Yes, but what is the problem? The problem is that Pundit Shahane has come here to challenge all the Pandits in our kingdom, and he says he will be visiting our courtroom tomorrow for this purpose." Now all the people who are sitting in the courtroom at that particular time, they all start looking little restless. Why? Because Pundit Shahane is going to come the next day to challenge all of them. Now the king gets a little worried. Okay, and the king says, challenge the knowledge of our Pandits? I am not sure. And then he says, who all among you can take this daring test of defiance? And as soon as he asks this question, all of the Pandits, all of the scholars who are sitting there in his courtroom, they all put their head down and all of them are silent. No one wants to open their mouth. "None of you can face the Pandit," he says. See, all of them are raising their hands. They said, "It is difficult, I don't know, I will have to think." Okay, and the emperor gets very angry. He says, "Not one of you can face the Pandit? I'm ashamed of all of you. I shall debar you from my court. I have never felt more disgusted." And then he says, "I shall sentence all of you to," so he's about to punish them. Just when he says those words, the Mantriji gets up, okay, and one scholar gets up and he says, "Excuse me, Maharaj, I have a suggestion." And what is the suggestion? He says, "Let us call Tenali Rama. He can certainly pull us out of this tight corner. Now there are many words which have been given in dark in the textbook. If you see, there are words like renown, there are words like defiance, okay, and there are words like tight corner, predicament. All these we are going to see when we look at the meanings in the lesson. So one of them suggests that let us call Tenali Rama. He is surely going to save us from this situation. The king agrees. The king says, okay, let's do that. All right. And then he says, summon Tenali Rama at once. So they call Tenali Rama to the court. Tenali Rama comes and Tenali Rama bows to the emperor and he says, no problem. First he says, I am at your service, your highness. Your wish is my command. And then the emperor tells him the problem. He says, tomorrow Pundit Shahane, a most well-read, well-known scholar, is coming to take our challenge, court to challenge our Pandits. All of them are diffident of taking him up. That is, they are scared to face him. So he says, will you accept the challenge? And Tenali Rama replies and he says, most certainly, your majesty, let me assure you that I shall not let you down. That is, I will not disappoint you. But he has got one small request to make. He says, but I have a small request. When Pundit Shahane arrives tomorrow, all must accept me and honor me as the chief Pandit for one day. So he says, I should not be presented as the court jester, but I should be presented as the Pandit, and not a Pandit. Which Pandit? The chief Pandit. Alright, the Mahant as we say. All of them agree and all of them nod their heads and the court is dismissed. And the next day, what happens is, at the appointed time, everyone is present in the court. The king comes and Pundit Shahane comes and everyone is now waiting for Tenali Rama to enter. Now Tenali Rama is the chief Pandit. So of course he will not walk into the court like this. So there are people who have gone with a palki to get him. Okay, and Tenali Rama walks in, or he's carried in on a palki. So you can see this is called as a palki. Alright, and there are people who are carrying the palki and now he enters into the court. As soon as he comes in this way, Pundit Shahane gets a little worried, okay, because he feels that this is a very big person who's coming, because he's being carried inside the court in a palki. And as soon as he comes in, the challenge begins. Okay, the Pandits start debating. Now Pundit Shahane is very, very happy because he knows that he knows many things. He's overconfident. Alright, he's very proud. He thinks that no one else is better than him. But our Tenali Raman is equally intelligent. He is witty and he knows how to take care of a problem. So Tenali Rama, he begins the discussion. So children, the battle is about to begin. And what is the battle? The battle is a battle to baffle. And who's going to baffle whom here? Our hero, Tenali Raman, is going to baffle or is going to confuse Pundit Shahane. So let us see in the next part of the video that I put up whether it will be Tenali Raman who is able to outwit Pundit Shahane, or will Pundit Shahane be able to prove that his claims of being the most learned person on this earth is true or not. We will also see whether Krishna Devaraya, the king, ends up in a happy situation, or he ends up really being angry with all the learned people in his kingdom. Alright, but that will be in the next video, because if we try to complete this lesson here at one go, the video will become very long and you will get bored watching it. Okay, so let us quickly recall what are the things that we saw in this video today. So we talked about certain exercises in the warming up part, where we talked about stories related to Akbar and Birbal, stories related to Mulla Nasruddin, and also of course stories related to Tenali Raman. And we tried to pick up common things or common aspects which are there in the stories related to these three people. So we saw that there is humor which runs commonly in all these stories. We saw that there is wisdom in stories related to Akbar and Birbal, Tenali Raman and Mulla Nazruddin. We also saw that there is a little bit of magic also at times. And of course, there is wit, there is suspense, because we want to know what happens in the end, isn't it? Now here also, when I'm leaving you at this point in the story, this creates suspense. You want to know who wins. You want to know whether Tenali Raman is winning, or you want to know whether Pundit Shahane is winning. And of course, there is beauty of nature in these stories, and there is a lot of play upon words. That is, words have been used in a very clever manner. Along with that, we also talked about some terms which are related to drama. So we talked about the meaning of play. We saw the meaning of one-act play, skit, mime, farce, opera, tragedy, comedy, etc. And then we also saw the first half of the story. So now let me leave you with the suspense here. So I will continue with the next video that I will put up about the second half of the story. That is lesson number 4.5 in your English textbooks, A Battle to Baffle. So that is all for now, children. Thank you so much.
So children, wasn't that a very interesting lesson? I'm sure you learnt a lot of new things in this lesson. If you have liked this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe to my video so that you will get to see all the videos which I keep posting regularly.